Hello and welcome to another episode of Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Tim.
And we've got a design challenge review to continue today.
Yeah. We can thank Discord for having a little bit of trouble, but also all of you for submitting so many submissions to the challenge this time around. We got the most we've ever gotten before, so we opted to do 2 episodes, so we don't have to rush through. We don't have to
60 seconds for each card, sort of.
Yeah. We can give every card its due. And I think we're going to be starting with one in a second that is going to require a lot more than 60 seconds. But before we do that, I just want to go over what that challenge was. It was Objection. Design a card showcasing the new keyword Objection. Now, we said keyword. This could also be ability word, whatever else you want to do. But this is going to be some sort of like kind of new mechanic, something you could make like 10 cards with, some ability that you can use on a bunch of cards. And we saw almost a dozen of those last week, and we're doing another crop of those this week as well. We also give people a couple bonus points to shoot for. This time around, we've got Party of the First. The card should be or care about a cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard. And then the other one is Legal Brief. 4 lines of rules text or less, not counting reminder text.
Mm-hmm. Which we've seen incentivizes some people to put as much as possible in the reminder text. But I think that's a fun hoop to jump through.
Our bar from the first episode that I don't expect we're going to eclipse is 2 lines of rules text, 10 lines of reminder text.
Mm-hmm. Our first submission for today is from Xena Distraction Incarnate. It's Isamaru's Law. It's an enchantment trap at uncommon for white and a blue with Objection. You may cast this card at instant speed as long as a creature on the battlefield with a combined base power and toughness greater than twice its mana value is attacking. And then the kind of static ability as an enchantment. Creatures with combined base power and toughness greater than twice their mana value have 0 power. Flavor text. The precedent set by Isamaru's prosecution had sweeping implications for pet owners across the multiverse.
Okay, so twice their mana value that's used a couple places is sort of saying like, all right, if you're a 1 mana 1/1, you're safe. But if you're a 1 mana 2/1, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is more than double the 1 mana. So anything that's like bigger than square stats for the mana value, 1 mana 1/1, 2 mana 2/2, 3 mana 3/3, is going to get punished. You could do this at instant speed if you want to, if your opponent is attacking with one of those creatures, but you could just play this anytime you want. And creatures that meet that mark will have 0 power, so they can't actually hopefully deal any damage.
And of course, Isamaru is, I believe, Isamaru Hound of Konda, a Kamigawa legend for single white mana that's just a vanilla 2/2.
Yep. So that's like 4 times this mana value, so a flagrant breaker of this law.
Yeah. So I assume Objection here is an ability word meaning you may cast this card at instant speed as long as blank.
Yeah. I would guess that the convention is that the objection condition and the thing that is happening on the card should line up.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
The ability to punish something that's breaking the law before the enchantment's in play is kind of a nice one. It's kind of a way to say, whoop, actually, you didn't know this. There's a law against this. We're locking you up.
I expected this to be a little zanier.
Yeah, this is the first kind of plausible, normal. Didn't take us a couple reads for Xena. I don't know. Maybe it was the rules text restriction. Xena's like, oh, I'm going to come down from 10 to 6. I'm not going down to 4. I refuse.
Mm-hmm.
But we always appreciate getting our Xena card every submission. And this was just kind of cool. This was just kind of good.
We do have a funny sort of thing here with, I think Trap was a subtype seen just on Instants and Sorceries.
Yeah.
When it first debuted. It's not that strange, but historically, subtypes that apply to just Instants and Sorceries, they can carry that pair like Arcane without necessarily also applying to other non-creature
Ooh.
things, but
So like a typing thing here? Like you can't just have instant dash goblin. You need like kindred or whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
Do enchantments and sorceries share subtypes? Are you allowed to do that or not? I don't even know.
not yet, but I
Oh,
mean, who
fair
could
enough.
say where the wind will blow? The other funny thing here, I think, is a layers thing.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Just the sentence, "Creatures with combined base power and toughness greater than twice their mana value have 0 power,"
Yeah.
is funny because you do have to do the math and find any other effects that would look at that math before defining that value and then setting that value to 0, and then is that going to affect other effects that are going to be checking that math?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but it's base, unless something else changes the base.
The rule says like base power toughness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think setting to a specific value is another way of saying base. So you have kind
Right,
of
right.
a funny mixture of like, hey, if your base power is this, change your base power to that, which
Mhm.
I don't think is intended, but it seems like it would create kind of a flickering effect, or like a repeated effect where, okay, so I was a 2/2, now I'm a O2, now I'm a 2/2, now I'm a O2, now I'm a 2, like,
And then Magic Gathering Online just crashes once
yeah.
you
Why did we print this card?
tries to resolve.
Yeah. Our own fate. So it might need to be like minus 3 power or something like that rather than,
Mhm.
setting to a
Or
specific number.
could we just say, like, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt
Oh,
by
yeah. Mhm. Great card. Alright, next up, we've got a card from Mon White Border, aka Peter. It's called Heroes Rise. It's 2 green white for a sorcery. 4-mana sorcery. Objection. As you cast the spell, any number of opponents may object. If each opponent does, search your library for a cleric, rogue, warrior, and or wizard. And or. Put one onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand. Otherwise, creatures you control gain vigilance, double strike, and lifelink. Dealuhor style? Vigilance, double strike, and lifelink not until end of turn?
I'm also a little bit any number of opponents may object. If each opponent does, so that requires all of them to?
Yeah, that's how I read it. If
It's
everyone,
not for each opponent that does. Okay, yeah.
yeah, everybody can say we don't want your guys to have vigilance, double strike, lifelink. If they all say, "Yep, we don't want that," instead you get to get some free cards out of your library.
I think the search my understanding from the put one onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand would mean search your library for up to 1 cleric card, rogue card, warrior card, and
Hmm.
wizard card.
Yeah, the and or yeah, put one. Yeah, I think that's what it's looking for.
So you can get up to 4 cards from your library, 1
Yeah.
onto the battlefield, and the other 3 into your hand. Otherwise, yeah, our heroes have risen, vigilance, double strike, and lifelink, potentially perpetually, but maybe until end of
Maybe
turn.
until end of turn. Yeah. You basically only want to cast this if you have a pretty good board for multiple reasons. If you have just like 2 creatures out and you cast this, your opponent's just gonna be like, sure, have some life. That's fine.
Mhm.
But if you have a pretty big board and you're either playing multiplayer or one on one, I mean, this functions one on one. It's like a Punisher effect. Do you want me to swing out with 7 double striking lifelinkers, or do you want to let me grip, a couple free cards from my deck?
And hypothetically, if you have a at least one of a cleric, a rogue, a warrior, or a wizard that has like a kind of a crater hoof
Oh,
behemoth sort of thing,
yeah, yeah.
I could look it up. Flamekin Zealot, maybe?
Oh,
Is that just
okay.
haste, or does that also give a power bonus?
I think with green, there's got to be something
Wow.
out there.
Flamekin Zealot is in fact neither a warrior nor a soldier. It's an elemental berserker,
Oh, they got you.
despite having soldier in its flavor text.
Oh,
But
rip.
yes, something to give your creature some sort of buff when that creature enters the battlefield, so your opponent can kinda choose small buff plus an extra creature on the board, or vigilance, double strike, lifelink, sort of thing. This probably
Yeah.
isn't very good if you have 1 creature out, or there's just been a board wipe. "Oh, I'm gonna cast this to get a bunch of creatures." "Oh, wait, n no."
I think you're right that the way this Punisher effect is sort of worded, if you build your deck correctly, them objecting is worse for them, right?
Mhm.
You can probably find something that's a wizard or a warrior or whatever that gives your team lifelink or whatever. Um, and so you could just tutor up something just as good, I guess, if they try to deprive you of your spell's main effect.
This is why we need to have, formally implemented the puppet mechanic that I came up with for
Oh.
Curtains Fall, where you you control your opponent, but you can't look at their hand, just so that you
Mm,
can cast things like Heroes Rise and force your opponent to object to it, so that you can put your 8
mm.
mana cleric or wizard onto the battlefield.
Yeah, this is like, yeah, a little bit like voting. I just played some conspiracy over the weekend, and like most of the voting cards are pretty minor, the commons and uncommons. But this is like a all or nothing from your opponents. This isn't like four individual people voting. This is like, do all of you agree on something or not?
Mhm.
Which is, a little bit of a different space, a bit different flavor.
Yeah. It's interesting that objecting doesn't have other things to it, if that makes sense. Like, it's
Hmm.
not opponents may object by tapping a creature
Hmm.
or paying 1 or discarding a card or milling some, like, there's not another game action that is engaged in objecting,
Hmm.
and so it it really is, I guess it is very much like voting, that it's this kind of player action that can or cannot happen, and then it's just this card that cares about it.
Yeah.
And this cares about a cleric, rogue, warrior, and or wizard,
Hmm.
and I think this hits 4 lines.
Yeah.
Our next submission is from James Dalton Bell. It's Phoenix Wright,
Oh,
Ace Attorney.
here we
It's a
go.
2/2 for white and a blue, legendary creature, human advisor at rare, with when Phoenix enters, investigate. Create a clue. And objection. White and a blue, sacrifice a clue, discard this card, counter target non creature spell.
Hmm.
J James has written in here, the objection ability word would be channel with the additional cost of sacrificing a clue, but could be any effect,
Hmm.
which I think matches the Ace Attorney games where, like, you're
Oh.
saying objection, and then you're like pointing at something in your inventory to
Oh
be
yeah.
like, this is what matches the thing they said and
Yeah.
proves that it's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll have like seven items in your clue inventory or whatever, and you gotta pick the right one for the situation. Let's see what it enters. Investigate. So if you don't have any clues, hey, you may as well play this out and get a clue ready. And then your future objection cards now can work.
Mhm. I like this specifically. I like this card as a kind of showcase of this mechanic because
Hmm.
it effectively works as a kind of grandeur. The grandeur ability
Treasure. Okay.
being
Yeah.
something to put on a legend, and you can discard additional versions of or additional copies of that legend to get some effect. And in this
Hmm.
case, your first Phoenix can be gone, but, like, you've got the clue from it, and so you're able to kind of make that modularity work, in
Hmm.
a kind of fun way.
The cost of this objection ability compared to like a channel is pretty steep, I would say. Like having to sacrifice a clue is like a pretty large extra hoop to jump through. Does that seem fair?
Mhm. Both in terms of the cost to the battlefield and the cost in terms of you have to set it up. You can't just do this
Yeah.
on any board state.
I mean, a clue is not quite a card in hand, but It's pretty close. So it's sort of like a channel that I have to discard this spell and another card, almost like you're paying for a Force of Will or whatever.
Mhm. And you have to deck build around this to
Yeah.
to an extent. Mhm.
You have to deck build. Yeah. You have to deck build, and also within that deck build, you have to give up on some cards. So I kind of feel like there might be room, especially for like a marquee card like a main character, to go a little heavier on what you're allowed to do, like to give a bigger effect than this. This feels more like the uncommon with this mechanic, I guess, to me.
Sure.
But everyone likes Phoenix Wright. He's a meme.
Mhm. Or this as a kind of commander that oh,
Hmm.
well, maybe not
Yeah.
because you can't discard this, but
Yeah.
maybe in a as part of a commander deck, you can have
Yeah.
this be a counter spell or an additional clue. It works both sides. Maybe something there.
Yeah. 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 I think this card is like very playable. I'm just also like, is this Phoenix right to me? I need a little more. I want a little more explosiveness, I guess.
Sure, sure. This is not quite a cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but it is, I think, 4 lines of rules text.
Love it.
Our next submission is from Juliet. It's Groomside
Uh,
Objector. It's got kind of a 2 brid gold mana cost, so it's the 2 or white, 2 or blue, 2 or black style sort of thing like we saw in Tarkir Dragonstorm.
mhm.
It's a creature, bird, cleric, rogue, advisor. It has flash and flying and objection. When this creature enters, you may unpair 2 target paired creatures. If you do, you gain 2 life. If you
Uh,
controlled either of them, draw 2 cards. And it's a 2/2.
of course, we're gonna get some romance from Juliet. That's just the dramatic New Capenna, Star-Crossed Lovers of New Capenna tie-in
Mhm,
here.
mhm.
This is 3 mana, 2/2 flyer, flash, whatever. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to set up your own pairing and then break it, I guess, at a surprise time.
Yeah, you the idea of, if anyone
Yeah.
has, a reason why these 2 should not be joined,
Yeah.
speak now or forever hold your peace sort of thing.
Mhm, mhm,
And so you can either unpair your opponent's stuff and potentially kinda, like, blow them out of combat because
mhm.
suddenly their creatures don't have the abilities that they expected and things like that. And so you're trying to get an advantage that way, or if you have a pair, you can kind of take advantage of that pair by,
Mm.
bringing this in and then drawing some cards out of the bargain to then be able to probably repair either or both of them.
Yeah, yeah. Groomside objector. So this is not necessarily like a third part to a love triangle. This is just someone in the family saying, "No, they're not good enough for
It
you."
it could be someone who, it could be, we've hired a professional to the family doesn't approve of this, but we've hired an outside party to we've hired an expert in matrimony to come in and say that this doesn't work, or
Mm.
maybe it's someone with emotional investment who could say,
Yeah, this seems fun. I guess yeah, you have some flexibility on your 3 colors, so you're pretty likely to be able to put this in your cool was that white, blue, black deck. And
Mhm.
the payoff for doing it correctly, getting 2 cards. Let's say I only have 2 of the colors. I got my 4 mana flash flyer that draws 2 cards when it enters. That seems great.
Do you think you would ever feel good about having paired 2 creatures on your side of the battlefield and then breaking them up?
Oh, I mean, drawing 2 cards is pretty good.
Yeah, draw 2 cards, gain 2 life.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we're
Nothing
talking
left.
about kind of normal soul bond, it's like, yeah, they broke up, but they'll find someone else. So I feel like I can still reuse the pairing someday, and those extra cards are going to help me do that. So yeah, this seems
You're
appealing
not
to play.
so emotionally, attached to
Yeah,
the pairing that you've put together.
yeah.
How many When this creature enters, you may unpair 2 target paired creatures. If you do blank effect, if you
Oh,
controlled either of them, bigger
hmm.
effect. How many of those cards do you think you could print in a set full of, Soul Bond and things like it?
Uh, 2 is my guess.
I'm like, as long as it's 3 or more, we've got enough for a mechanic.
I think you have
But,
one that is like basically the stern relative who disapproves of the relationship, and the other is the like third person in the love triangle stopping it. And then those are the two, at least flavor wise, that feel right to me. I had somehow just grokked this as just like a flavor word. I don't know why. Every other card that we've looked at, the last 14, have been mechanics, and for some reason, I just insta translated this into a flavor word. So I didn't even that somehow that question didn't even come to me.
it would it would be funny. Maybe we could see more flavor words. Maybe who
The
knows?
anti-marriage faction of your plane that is like continuously breaking up soul bonds.
I mean, there's gotta be some of that, right? Like,
Mm.
if your whole story is about they aren't star-crossed lovers unless some people are trying to tell them, "No, don't be together," right?
Yeah.
Like, Romeo and Juliet doesn't work if everyone's like, "Thumbs up, good pairing, stay together." At least this is my read of
Mm.
historical romance as
Okay. Okay.
a kind of storytelling genre.
Yeah, yeah. I guess you have a would you have objection on like I guess a spell maybe? The results of a private eye investigating something breaks up a couple.
Mm, sure. Objection on a wrath where you break them up and it
Yeah.
has, like, devastating consequences for
Mm.
everybody, but also stops any, like, as long as we're paired, like, I and my pair are indestructible or whatever,
Mm.
you can get around.
Like an artifact that's like a romantic note from someone else that breaks up a pairing.
Wow, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. Bird Cleric Rogue Advisor is also pretty funny.
Mhm.
Uh,
They're a rogue because they're disrupting, they're a
mm,
cleric because the thing they're disrupting is a wedding, they're an
yeah.
advisor because they're saying, "Don't do this,
Uh,
here's my insight," and they're a bird because they're a person with flying, and
yeah, because it's Capetta. Yeah.
it's bird, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
What's our next, it is less than 4 or exactly 4 lines of rules text if flash and flying have to be on separate, so it
Oh,
is both
okay.
bonus points.
All right. Our next card is from Keith Cubed, or Keith to the power of 3, which is a new submitter. New submitter. Bop, 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 bop.
Pew, pew, pew.
I met Keith at an event a little while ago, and they jumped on the Discord and they sent us this card. So excited to read it.
Wow.
It's called Remanding Wizard. It's a white and a blue for a 2/2. So 2 mana 2/2, creature, human, wizard. And it has objection. If a spell was countered or a non-land permanent was returned to hand this turn, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast until your next turn. So if we
Um,
can keep up countering things or bouncing things, we can make it even harder for our opponent to replay those things that were bounced.
do you think objection here is if a spell was countered or a non-land permanent was returned to hand this turn blank, or is
Hmm.
objection condition, comma, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast until your next turn?
I think that second thing sounds pretty funny. Having like a bunch of cards that are like turning on and off and making my opponent's life like miserable.
Mhm,
I guess either way, objection. Yeah, I feel like objection maybe feels more like that second thing, but maybe it's both. Maybe it could be either.
mhm. It's not in, in parentheses, so it couldn't be, but it would be funny if every objection card had exactly this ability, and so
Oh,
you've got your
yeah,
your 2 for 2, you've got your
yeah.
4-3 for 4 that has exactly this text,
You've
and you're
got
just
the equipment that gives this creature has objection if a spell is given. I think rules wise, this might need a little bit of a tweak because this is like a if blah blah blah, which is like a an effect that's either on or off.
replacement. Mm.
whereas, like, until your next turn implies that it's coming from, like, a single event, like a whenever something
So
happens,
whenever a spell is countered.
then this happens. Yeah. So I think we probably need to tweak one way or the other. I think the intention of the card is really clear, but,
Yeah.
um
Yeah, I think we could see this as maybe with some tweaks, we could make this as long as, I would be tempted to look at maybe a specific timing window where this ability kicks in, which is like, okay, if this has happened, at the beginning of your end step, you know,
hmm,
if a spell was countered or non-land permanent was returned to hand this turn, then spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast until your next turn, or,
yeah,
some
yeah,
it creates a timing window in that way, or just we could say whenever a spell is countered or a non-land permanent,
yeah.
this gets triggered, which if that happens, then you could tick it multiple times potentially.
Yeah, you could do something like, if blah blah blah, since your last turn, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah, anything in there. But yeah, this is a cool submission. This is a play style that some players like. Like there's a this is the old Azorius leader that I still see pretty often that just makes your opponent's stuff cost more. Grand Augustin
I'm
or something.
Oh, yeah, Grand Augustin the 4th, I think maybe, or something like that. I was also thinking of another old Azorius card. I wanna say it's Azorius Aether Mage that cares
Oh.
about that has, like, a bouncing payoff.
Oh.
The I would expect to see this, depending on how it's templated, maybe occasionally played in a Merfolk style strategy
Hmm.
or a kind of Flash Wizards sort of deck where you've
Mhm.
got a lot
Yeah.
of kind of cheap bounce and counter spells and things like that, and then you're just trying to kind of hiccup your opponent enough that you can swing in, and you've got Aether Vials putting in these creatures while you can spend mana on, you know, that sort of, temporary interaction.
There have been a couple cards that have cared about bouncing, like there was Baron, I think, that, things that like care about returning to hand. But I think that that's probably room you could do more of those cards. You those have been fun cards, and I could definitely see having more of those cards around so that you can play with them more. Yeah, so this is a great submission. Our next one is from Pat. They sent Reactive Law Mage, 2 and a white for a 3/3, 3 mana 3/3 for a creature human wizard at uncommon. Whenever you're attacked, you may raise an objection to a creature type. Creatures with a quality you've objected to can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each applicable objection.
Nice.
And then Pat added like a little token list of objections, and it's mostly like a blank thing. You can use this card to keep track of things you've objected to, like a little a little notepad for you to write down every one you're mad at.
And so with this creature, we have whenever you're attacked, you may raise an objection to a creature type. And so I could put down, Merfolk or Slivers or rogues, pirates, if I want to pause a Ragavan or something. But presumably, other cards might have maybe this spider gives you an objection to flying or
Hmm.
things like that.
Yeah.
And because it's not in, like, reminder text sort of thing, the creatures with the quality you've objected to, we could then also see, a creature that says, "I get +2/+2 if I'm blocking or blocked by a creature with a
Hmm.
quality you've objected to."
Over the course of the game, you're kind of building up a variety of things that you've objected to. You have like a more and more complicated legal system, and then all of your
Mhm.
cards might also pay that off. Yeah. I think this particular card doesn't slow down the first attack, it slows down future attacks. Does that seem correct? Like, I get
Yeah.
attacked by a bear and a bird, and then I decide, "Oh, I'm gonna eject a bird." Well, they already attacked me,
Mhm.
so they don't have to pay this turn, but in future turns, if they want to attack with a bird, they gotta pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that really speaks to, like, this isn't meant to be like a standalone card, this is meant to be like a whole deck of different ways that I'm objecting and different ways that I'm, uh building up this, I don't know, kind of, I mean, it feels law mage, it feels kind of new, feels different. So yeah, it's a cool idea.
I like this, I think, more than a typical ghostly prison propaganda style effect, in part because there's more, like, player interaction to it. There's more, like, choosing and,
Hmm.
you can potentially choose wrong in different ways, or your opponent could manipulate their could play, "Oh, all of my creatures lose creature types," or, who knows what, sort of thing, like, nameless inversion and try to hit
Hmm.
with, enough toughness or something. But also that this is a creature, and so your opponent could remove your reactive law
Hmm.
mage, and maybe I believe you keep the objections, and so
Hmm.
then,
Hmm.
that could still interact with things in the future, but, I think this is pretty neat.
Yeah.
It would be, I think, very difficult to tune and develop the different cards for a format and figure out, like,
Yeah.
in what ways can we make objection fun and interesting and not, "Here's one obvious default thing," and or it always slows every game down and just makes
Yeah.
it okay, even if
Yeah.
we're in, like, a multiplayer thing, I need to look at my objections and everybody else's objections and the cards that they're, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we have a
Hmm.
whole extra bookkeeping step each combat or anything like that. But
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
promise and potential is there.
Yeah, I think the appeal is high. I think it works. And it's just, can you find the right designs to make it fun? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for the submission.
This is a wizard. It is more than 4 lines of
Hmm.
rules text, but it
Yeah.
is, doing something novel and neat.
The extra token thing, it doesn't have more than 4 lines of rules text. So the token reaches the challenge.
There we go. Our next submission is from Inte. The front side of this card is Public Defender. It's 2 and a blue for a 1/3 common creature goblin spell shaper,
Hmm.
and it has Objection. Pay X in blue, tap this and discard a card. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X. So you could pay
Hmm.
X in a blue and tap this and discard a card to counter something unless the opponent pays X. Cool.
Hmm.
Its backside, which appears to be like a modal DFC, its
Okay. Yeah.
backside is Strict Judge. It's 4 and a white for a 3/4 creature Sphinx Advisor. It has Flying and Vigilance and Overruled. Tap this, counter target spell or ability that commits a crime. And of course, targeting opponents, anything they control and or cards in their graveyard is a crime.
Hmm. You choose between which card you want. So you have two different creatures you can cast. You can cast a 3 mana 1/3. You can cast a 5 mana 3/4 flying vigilance, and then both of them have different counter abilities. That friend side felt very I don't know, 1997 to me, like a kind of a spell shapy way to repeatedly counter spells. Ooh, that's a serious
Mhm.
card. And then the backside, counter target spell or ability that commits a crime. Spell or ability that commits a crime. This vigilance creature is basically always going to be untapped. So both halves
Mhm.
of these feel like they lock your opponent out a decent amount, I guess.
Yeah. If your opponent is going to be doing things that commit crimes
Yeah.
and or a 3/4 flyer is going to potentially help take over the game and just, like, win,
Yeah.
you can cast the backside. If you need an early blocker and to counter a big specific, like, proactive spell that isn't, targeting any of your things,
Hmm.
you can I mean, as long as you've got the public defender down early enough,
Hmm.
I guess, if your opponent can combo off on turn 3, they can get in under. Otherwise, this kinda stays up and
Yeah.
can counter any big thing that you wanna do.
I think to start off, it's also worth saying both of these halves like also make a ton of sense. Like public defender, strict judge, the flavor of each of those cards like really I think hits quite well.
Mhm.
I think we just both had a kind of a reaction of like, oh, we don't usually see this anymore. We don't usually see like onboard counterspelling creatures. Whether you want to do a specific kind of onboard counterspell kind of thing, it's just, what you're trying to do with the set and what you're trying to figure out. I think the pairing of objection on one side and overruled on the other side is also a pretty fun combo
Mhm.
where the defender says, no, I don't think that's okay. And then the judge says, oh, the judge can stop the public defender because it's, a counterspell commits a crime.
Oh,
Um,
that's a good point. In case we've got, everybody's playing for public defenders. Some of them can be strict judges to overrule the other ones.
yeah, yeah. I am hesitant to say like, oh, two thumbs up on an onboard counterspell. Like that feels a little strange. But otherwise, like I think the flavor and everything else is great on this card.
I don't know how much I vibe with this being a modal DFC rather than just 2 different
Mm.
cards.
That's kind of true because they're different like creature types. I think modal DFC could be like two different career paths. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm an underpaid public defender. Oh, I'm a big strict judge. Like that, if they were the same creature type, I think I would object to what you're saying. But I think having because they are different creatures, I get what you're saying. Why are they a DFC?
But interesting ideas here, and I think the objection into overruled is a fun sort of find. I'm assuming these are flavor words, which I'm
Yeah.
on board with, especially for, like, spell shaper effects. I think that's a
Ooh, yeah, that's true. Spell shapers being sort of the creatures that can like they pay some mana, tap, discard a card to get an effect of a spell that exists. Like oh, I can cast Giant Growth as a creature, and using ability words for that, I think helps create a connection that sometimes people miss. Like it's been written that like people didn't quite get that spell shapers were like a whole mechanic and a whole theme. But putting that flavor word in there might be enough to point people in the right direction.
yeah,
Oh yeah, and this
and
was this is the first
mhm.
submission from Inti as well, which
I
I
I was
hadn't
wondering
seen
what there
either.
might be.
Pew 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 boo boo boo.
Pew, 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 first
I actually
submission.
met Inti as well. They, along with their friend, created a whole Baldur's Gate 3 themed custom set, and
Oh,
I got to go to a play test for that. I'm glad to see that they're bringing some of their expertise over to the design challenge.
very fun, and I think either side of this card on its own fits the legal brief bonus
Mm.
point.
Okay.
Our next submission is from Selkie. Is this a new submitter?
It is. Pew 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 pew. Another new submitter.
Pew,
Blah, blah, blah,
pew,
blah, 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 blah,
pew.
blah, blah. The new squad.
Mhm. This is Clerical Harrier. It's white and black for a 1/2 creature human cleric uncommon. It has objection to spirits, skeletons, and zombies. Procedure: tap a cleric. The reminder text for this ability is the first time each turn a card or group of cards objected to enters or is cast, instead exile it, place a time counter on it, and give it suspend if it doesn't already have it, unless its controller performs the given procedure.
Hmm.
So the first time each turn a spirit, skeleton, or zombie enters or is cast, instead exile it, place a time counter on it, and give it suspend unless its controller taps a cleric.
Hmm.
The second ability on the card is tap this. This gains objection to cards entering from a graveyard.
Ah.
Procedure: pay 2 mana or tap 2 clerics until the start of your next turn.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Huh. This is new enough, and there's enough
Yeah.
there that it's making my mind go a little dizzy.
So just the first ability, first time each turn, a card or group of cards objected to enters or is cast. Instead, exile it.
There's
So
there's an extra step though, which is if you've got Clerical Harrier and I'm casting a skeleton,
yeah.
I'm casting a drudge skeletons onto the battlefield. and I don't have any clerics.
Yeah.
My skeleton gets exiled, a time counter gets put on it, it has suspend, so next turn it will try to enter.
Same thing will happen.
Yeah. So we're doing a lot of, like, moving things about and putting counters on and off things and delaying things for effectively spirit skeletons and zombies can't enter the battlefield unless you have a cleric to allow them, or unless you have a removal spell for this harrier.
Well, if you have like two skeletons, I cast one the first turn. The second turn, that guy tries to re-enter suspend style. It says, nope, go
Ah,
back and suspend. And then I can cast my second skeleton.
that's a good point.
If I'm a thematic deck, like if I have just 20 skeletons in my deck, the Harrier will slow down one of them, but not all of them. It does mean that if I
Mhm.
have just a couple spirits or whatever, like if I just have one spirit, that spirit is never entering because it's going to keep getting suspended. Um, I think a decent number of zombies are probably also clerics, so the zombie deck might be the least affected by this. I might imagine. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is funny to say like, hey, the thing that you have to pay is the thing that my deck cares about. I am the cleric deck, and I'm stopping the undead. And in order if you want to get around it, you have to be playing the same kind of deck as me.
Alternatively, if I'm understanding this correctly, you have clerical harrier out. I
Yeah.
cast my drudge skeletons,
Mhm.
and I put it on the battlefield, and you say, "Wait, what are you doing? It needs to be suspend." And I go and I tap your clerical harrier, and I say, I've performed the given procedure, which is tap a
Ah,
cleric."
oh, funny. It says it doesn't say tap a cleric you control.
Yeah.
I like that we see two different procedures on this card just to get a sense of the card, but in terms of being an uncommon, I feel like it's already doing enough with either of these abilities that I don't necessarily need both. And putting both on here means like, all right, we got to take a 60-second break from playing our game for me to explain my card to you. The double ability thing really puts people into overload, I think.
Which is not to say that, like, it's a bad thing, but it
Oh
has
no.
such a involved kind of mini game to
Yeah.
it, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Assuming you're in an environment that has some other suspend, so you don't have to explain all that, saying like, I'm not going to counter your spell. I'm just delaying it for a turn, or putting that on a couple different cards. That feels like, oh, I'm the force of I'm like a holy cleric, and I've got a team of clerics, so we all got different ways to turn undead, and we're slowing them down. We got a bunch of different ways of slowing them down.
Mhm.
We just have a lot of components on this card that is it's taken us a while just to grok the card before we get to appreciate that flavor. But I do like the flavor.
I think I might also appreciate this card. It might be that if this was printed, like, the procedure and objection parts would have some sort of special, like, templating, maybe like a prototype thing or, like, maybe a little section. I think I would like this card better without the flavor text, just for ease of reading
Yeah,
the
yeah.
8th or ninth line of rules.
No license, eh? Should I assume that you've submitted the proper reanimation forms in triplicate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is appropriate flavor text. It makes sense, but it's also squishing this card even more. Um, but yeah, this is a cool card. The second ability here, basically, when things try to enter from the graveyard, they either have to pay two or it gets delayed a turn. I think that's nice. Like your opponent knows, oh, I don't get to bring it out this turn. It comes in next turn. Okay, I'll still do that. I guess the last piece, if we're putting a time counter on something and giving it suspend, when it comes off of suspend, it's going to gain haste because of suspend, and that sort of removes a lot of the delay.
Mm,
If I
mhm,
play a 3 mana 3/3 and it gets to attack next turn, it's not that different if I play a 3 mana 3/3 and it's gone and then comes back next turn with haste. Like I get to attack at the same time.
mhm.
But it's maybe kind of similar to entering tapped.
I think of that as I don't expect anyone to remember this, but do you remember Flinthoof Boar card first printed in
Gre
2013?
It's like a green card with, like, a red bonus or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's a 1 in the green for a 2/2 that you can spend a red mana to give it haste.
Mm,
And so it's like you can play this on turn 2 and it can attack
on
on
turn
turn 3, or you can play this on turn 3 and it can attack on turn 3.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
you've got I tend to think of things that delay a turn but give haste as in that sort of space.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And this definitely is and also cares about clerics.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Next up from kuyashiiPlays, we've got Rules Stickler. This is one and a hybrid black white, so 2 mana for a 2/2. So 2 mana 2/2. Creature human gamer. Objection. Whenever an opponent changes the order of their graveyard or misses a trigger they control, you may say objection. When you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Changes the order of their graveyard. That's some graybeard rules technology there. It was sort of true for the first, I don't know, 8 years of Magic that your graveyard's order couldn't be changed. And there were some cards that cared about that. Now, that's only true if you have one of those cards in your deck. This rule stickler is sticking the old rules back in.
I also like missing a trigger you control is something that in some eras of Magic has been more permissible than others. I
Hmm.
remember there was a little while where it was like, "Hey, people can catch this, but it just try to follow it." And in others, it's like it's a game loss if you miss a trigger that you could you know what I mean? That I remember like the what Soul Warden and Soul Emissary, they added the extra maze in to try to make it easier for people to miss things and have it not need to be rewound. But yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's where this is more comfortable in sort of an unspace of like, what technically counts as missing a trigger? You know,
Mhm.
we don't have to tell you. So there were a bunch of these like gotcha cards from some old unset, which like whenever you said the word damage or said the word deal, oh, I can say gotcha and then get a card back from my graveyard. Those were like kind of famously obnoxious because it just encouraged people to never talk.
Mhm.
This is for things that your opponent should be doing as part of normal play. It's when they're messing something up that the gotcha happens, rather than when they're just playing a game as normal that the gotcha happens.
Mhm. The gotcha cards get brought up somewhat frequently in, Blood in the Clock Tower rules
Mm.
discussion, which I see a lot of different homebrew things. Sometimes people go, "Oh, wouldn't this demon be interesting?" Where when people say this stuff, they have a chance of dying. Other people are like, "So, 20 years ago in Magic the Gathering, they had cards with this gotcha mechanic, and it turns out it's a bad idea." And they explain why. It's a fun citation everywhere. I think this objection to things other than saying is funny, and I do think picking things that are sometimes not allowed, but other times not a big deal, like changing the order of your graveyard and missing a trigger,
Yeah.
like, it's a fun, weird
Yeah.
connection of things together. How many objection cards you could fit in, and whether any of them would be fun to play rather than just, like, slightly funny to read sometime.
Hmm. I feel happy about having one of these in unset. Yeah. Can we get a whole
Mhm.
cycle? I don't know. You'd need some good game design to come up with 10 different gotchas to put on 5 different cards without making the same mistakes as gotcha.
You have, like, a, miracle believer card, and it's, like,
Mm.
whenever your opponent draws a card and, like, immediately, like, shuffles it into the other cards of their hand, rather than, like, distinguishing which
Mm.
of the cards is the one they drew, like you have to do when you have miracles in your deck.
Yeah.
Uh
Something about like mana emptying from mana pools, like uh
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
they attempt to spend mana from a previous phase or step.
When they would draw a card, at the beginning of their turn, if they reach their draw step and they haven't done whatever this thing is, you can object, like for Pact of
Oh.
Negation stuff, where if your opponent tries to draw their card, they lose the game because 'cause they've missed their
Hmm.
keep trigger.
Oh, I think that's kind of the ultimate one. Another related one that might work is if a player draws their card for the turn before untapping, you can say gotcha.
Objection.
10's gonna be hard, but we might be able to get there. There might be enough random magic goofball things that we can find.
Whenever an opponent puts their creatures, like, taps all of their creatures and then untaps like, puts them into combat, but then untaps and brings some of them back.
Yeah,
Whenever
yeah,
your opponent
yeah,
sets up blockers, but then rearranges them, like, some sequence of things. It's like, that's not
yeah,
even against the rules. Aha, it doesn't have to be. That's why.
yeah, that's why the gamer yeah.
Silly, funny card. Very acorn. Thanks for
Yeah.
the submission, Kuyashi. Our next submission is from Mark Confidant. It's Contempt of Court. For
Mm,
2 and a blue, it's a sorcery at uncommon with Objection blue. You may cast this spell as though it had flash for its objection cost if an opponent committed a crime against you this turn.
mm,
And then the effect is return target non token creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card.
mm. Kinda synthesizing some of the other different objections that we've seen this challenge. It's specifically a crime against you, which is kinda interesting. I guess in one-on-one, any crimes your opponent commits are against you, but in multiplayer, this is, normally a sorcery, but it gains flash with objection and also gets cheaper, so it has, like, 2 different upgrades.
Mhm,
The slightly expensive bounce spell that draws you a card has been a successful card many times, and then
mhm,
I get
mhm.
to amp it up if I think my opponent's gonna be committing a lot of crimes is also fun. I might wait and hope they commit a crime, and then they sniff that out, and they don't commit a crime and cast a creature instead. Like, now I did nothing with my turn. So there's a little bit of risk in playing into this card or playing with this card as well.
Or you leave a single you have 2 and a blue, but, "Oh, I'm just gonna leave a single blue untapped," and your opponent goes, "Okay, I can't use my dismember or whatever on your creature because that's gonna be committing a crime," and then you can bounce the creature, and
Hmm.
so you kind of, like, off sequence them so that they try to wait to use the removal spell until you're fully tapped out, and by that time, you've gained some tempo advantage or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting that because this specifically can I mean, save a creature, you would have to recast it, but, like, it is kind of saving a creature, specifically when an opponent would be committing a crime.
Yeah. It like becomes an instant, so it normally couldn't save a creature because of sorcery speed, but it could in many of the cases that a creature would die, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just not in combat, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
This is, it fits the legal brief. This is 3 lines of rules text.
Yeah, I guess it really paid off that we asked people for give us a mechanic, give all the flavor text you want, but don't give us a ton of other text because we need to talk through these mechanics. I think it's really been nice to see people keep it short.
Mhm.
Um,
The legal brief.
legal brief, yeah. Last card up is from Redbay, who sent us T Rex District Attorney, which is 2 green for a 5/5 legendary creature, dinosaur cleric at Mythic. Objection: whenever a T Rex becomes the target of a spell you don't control, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And then the flavor text is maybe crucial to understanding. Overrule. Damn it, T Rex, you can't eat the witnesses before I finish my ruling, Judge Terra. So T Rex here. When he objects, he also eats the witness.
I mean, I guess it would make you wanna do a plea bargain if there's a risk of being
Yeah.
eaten in the courtroom just as a witness. You're like, "No, thank you." Also, T-Rex here makes me feel like it's in legal stuff, oftentimes it'll be just the first initial and then the last name, as though this is,
Hmm.
like,
Oh, yeah.
a super formal, like,
Yeah.
T-Rex rather than I don't know, there's something neat about that.
What's his actual name? Is it Thomas Rex?
Theodore
Oh,
Rex
okay.
or
Okay.
Perhaps Thomasina, you know,
Tammy
could be,
Rex. Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so whenever it becomes a target of a spell you don't control, it gets to eat something on the way out. So I'm probably waiting to target this until I know I'm going to kill T Rex, and T Rex gets to get a little vengeance on the way out. Doesn't totally hit the mythic bar for me. I don't know about you. This isn't that
Yeah.
explosive.
This very much to me is reminiscent of Enrage, the dinosaur
Oh,
mechanic
sure.
from
Yeah.
Ixalan, where if the dinosaur is damaged, it does something,
Yeah.
and this feels of a 1 to that. It just in this case, it's you could be hit by a doom blade instead of needing to be hit by a Shivan meteor. I can't think of good 5 mana creature damage spells. A
Yeah. Yeah.
Scred. Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's funny. Like the district attorney joke is funny and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is pretty similar to Enrage. There's like a big Altasaur that whenever it enrages, it fights things. So, we've seen cards like this before, but maybe
Mhm.
not as silly.
The other thing I think of with T-Rex is totally off topic, but,
Mhm.
was Words, 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 the game show that I did earlier
Oh.
this spring, where Tim, do you think, T-Rex shows up in the complete works of William Shakespeare or has a novel dictionary entry in the 21st century?
Like either of the both, or what do I have to
It's
guess?
it's it's one of those 2.
Oh, it's one of those two. Oh. I'll go William Shakespeare. There's some text slice that we can do to get T and Rex next to each other.
That would be funny. It's of course in 2023's Oxford English Dictionary, new
Yeah.
entry, the only species of the genus Tyrannosaurus,
Oh.
a large bipedal dinosaur of the same name known from fossil remains found in North America. Also, comma, figurative.
Oh.
Which
Is that
the
the new part? Are there like patch notes for the dictionary?
There are patch notes for the dictionary. This is an entirely new entry though.
Oh.
This is not just a tweak, that's a new entry for
Oh, so
T-Rex.
T-Rex wasn't in the dictionary or that dictionary until now.
Yeah, wasn't in
Oh,
OED.
all right. Wasn't notable. Alrighty,
Yeah.
that's our second half of our objection cards. These were just as fun as the first half, but let's see if we could pick a favorite from among these.
I think I'm going to be going with Pat's reactive law mage. While
Oh.
the objecting to qualities and, like, necessarily detailing what types of qualities, like, exist and saying, "This is a quality, this isn't," etcetera. I like a ghostly prison or propaganda. I like things that slow attacks, but that have, some reactive ability to it, that
Hmm.
they have some player agency on potentially both sides that make actual, like, deck decisions or sideboarding decisions or who
Hmm.
knows,
Yeah.
kind of different in different ways.
Yeah. A lot of appeal to that. Like the picture this card paints is like, oh, like this is a cool different deck that people would want to try out for sure. I
Mm,
think I might go with Rule Stickler, the gamer one that
sure.
objections.
Sure.
I think that was I think it successfully hit something that is a little hard to do. And I kind of want to respect that. Yeah. But we gave people a tough challenge, this objection keyword, and a lot of people chimed in. There's a lot of different ideas, a lot of technology. Reactive magic, onboard reactive magic is a hard thing to design, and people had a lot of it. So I'm appreciative of all the challenge submissions that we got.
A funny thing that we saw from, Mark Confidants, and I think I also felt, and I think other, people felt was, "Oh,
Mhm.
wait, no one else has done this thing?" That seemed like
Mm.
the obvious one to me.
Oh, okay.
Which
Ah.
I think that's a neat thing from a challenge. I wasn't surprised to see a lot of legal stuff, but I expected at least one, like,
Hmm.
"I object to a marriage,"
Oh,
sort of
okay.
flavor.
Okay. That was like free to you. That was like just anyone gets to do that,
Yeah.
but no one did, and you swooped in and you objected at the with minutes to spare.
In the end of one design challenge means the beginning of another. And we've got our September design challenge, which
Mm.
is hit the books. Design a card with a 3-card spellbook. All cards in the spellbook should be canon Magic the Gathering cards.
Yeah, yeah. So a spell book, this is like an arena thing, and if you haven't really seen it, it might say like, "Hey, when this enters, draft a card from this card spell book." You've got a card itself, a new card that you're designing that somehow connects to a pool of 3 canon cards that are like going to go in your hand or get immediately cast or get shuffled into your library or something else like that.
You
Spell books on and off have been like things that have had 12 cards in them or fewer cards in them, and we're interested in seeing a small spell book.
If you aren't hip to arena sort of things, you could also look at something like Garth One Eye
Yeah.
as a
Mhm,
specific sort of card that can kind of cast,
mhm.
versions of a specific sort of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
or maybe something like Renowned Weaponsmith that is like searching your library for a Heart Piercer bow or a Vial of Dragonfire. You could be thinking in those spaces as well.
A card that references other cards in like a really direct way.
We've got some bonus points here. The first one is common knowledge. Either the design submission or the 3 spellbook cards are common.
Hmm.
And then the second bonus point, School of Fish. It's a merfolk or cares about merfolk in some way or gifts a fish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's going to be due September 26th.
Alrighty. That's our podcast for the week. Hop on the Discord. There's all kinds of events going on there. You Make the Pack is like at full strength right now. So check out that episode I did with Ken a couple weeks ago about that, or just hop in and start submitting, start voting, start designing. Um,
Absolutely.
if you want to reach either of us, Discord is the best way to do that. You can also find us on Blue Sky, me, Tim F. Riley, you, Polly Persis. And most of all, thanks everyone for listening.
And always remember, don't give your money to wizards. They'll spend it on a party. It's an outro that cares about, rogues, clerics, warriors, everyone.
I get it. I get it.